All right. So I guess I got to call the meeting to order here. By my clock in my car, it is 7 p.m. I'm not sure if that's the actual time, but let's call the meeting to order. All right.
There we go.
And we'll roll right into commissioner updates. I will start, and there is nothing to for the sports committee, the sports something commission committee that I am
Sports Council.
in charge. The sports council. Thank you. The sports council has nothing to report. Have you guys heard any? Are there any rumblings from the sports teams about getting things going?
Yeah, so that was one of the things I wanted to check in with you about. I know I'm going to have to start talking to St. Anne's about getting the lease agreement for the upcoming season. So that's something I will look into when I get into the office later this week, because I will be at the theater Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
And so, yes, we'll also have to start scheduling a meeting with lacrosse and soccer and baseball and softball so that we can start thinking about scheduling the fields for spring usage.
Okay. Yep. So we can schedule that later in the week. You and I can talk and start scheduling with those guys.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
If you want to include me in that, because I am supposed to be helping you, so.
Oh, that's right. I'm glad you reminded me, Saul. You're a good man. You're a good man.
Honest man.
All right. So, yeah, the last honest man in Littleton, I think. So, Saul, do you have any updates?
I guess the only update is Alicia and I took a tour of Fay Park with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at potentials for renovation and upgrades and future plans for that space. Obviously, nothing imminent. So, but just kind of taking a look and seeing what the possibilities are.
All right, thank you, sir. Sean, any updates?
Nothing from the COVID work group.
Yeah, there hasn't been
All right.
anything.
And Mike, any updates?
Well, for the CPC, they haven't had a meeting for a while, but there's one scheduled for next Wednesday. I have not gotten the agenda yet. I know, Alicia is going to be talking about this, I think, a little later on, but I believe we're going to be requesting CPC funds. The meeting's on the 17th at 7 p.m.
So I did ask to be on the agenda. Did they clarify if we would be or not?
You were CC'd in that email, I think, about the plan. Again, I have not received a meeting notice at this point.
I ran into Andrew Samarco at Market Basket on Sunday, and he mentioned that he was looking forward to seeing us. So it sounds like we're all good.
Cool. All right.
Who did you meet, Tim?
Andrew Samarco at Market Basket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, any other updates? Nope. All right, so can we get, did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from last month?
I read them.
Me too?
Mike read them.
All right. Any comments?
You need time? Do you need Saul and Sean, do you need time?
I'm good.
Nope.
Okay. I make a motion to approve minutes for the January Park Commission meeting, January 12th, 2021.
Second.
All right, so let's get a vote. Mike?
Mike's yay.
Sean?
Yes.
Saul?
Yes.
And Kevin is a yes. All right. So administrative assistant vacancy. Does someone want to talk about this?
I will do that. So we had our administrative assistant left on January 28th. So I, at this point, have filled out all the vacancy paperwork. It's been filed with the town administrator's office. Actually, it hasn't. I am working with HR to update the job description. So once we have that all hammered out, we're trying to make sure that if we need to go through the personnel board to get it re-rated, then we're going to do it the proper way. So I've sent them my draft today. So hopefully we'll get an idea if we'll be able to move forward with that sooner than later. And so the vacancy paperwork has been completed. So that has to go with the job description up to the town administrator's office. And then they just have to verify that it is level funded, so that we're not requesting, a more full-time, employee hours, or that it's, going to change the budget. So, and it is level funded. It's fine the way that it is. So it will have no problems getting past that. So there's two things that we have to do tonight. So one would be, and you could choose to do this or not, we can wait. But if you want to vote to approve the posting, once the job descriptions has been reviewed with HR, that would help us timely wise, because then we could, get it out there sooner than trying to get a special meeting together. So that's up to you guys. You can discuss that. And then the second on there is that we do have to do a creation of a preliminary search committee. And typically that's been myself and Tim. And usually there is one commissioner. But again, you can talk about that and make that discussion. There's also, new staff at HR and things like that you could try to, ask if they would come into that role as well.
All right. So any comments, discussion about number one, I guess, posting the current staff vacancy for administrative assistant?
So you vetted it out with the HR that given the climate with COVID, that they don't have a concern posting the position at this point in time?
Nope.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving it forward.
I am also.
All right. So that sounded like a first and a second there. So, Alicia, should we vote on each one of these, or?
Yeah, I would do it separately, just so, because they're two separate things. Yep.
Okay. So, so a vote on posting the staff vacancy for administrative assistant. Saul.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Mike.
Mike's a yes.
And Kevin is a yes. All right. So now we'll have discussion on my motion, my proposal that the PSC conduct a screening process in executive session, because having the candidate selection discussion in open session will be detrimental to the public's body's ability to attract qualified applicants for the position of administrative assistant. So is there discussion about creating a preliminary search committee?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what we normally do, Alicia? I'm not trying to take away any of your thunder, Kevin.
Hey, that's quite all right, Mike.
What do you mean what we normally do?
I thought normally we create a preliminary search committee and we go they go in executive session. Is that
yes, but it has to be said exactly that way, my friend.
Oh, okay.
That's my
so
thunder,
Kevin did an
Mike.
excellent job.
All righty.
So do we need to define the search committee, or we're just creating it for now and we'll define it later?
No, you do. So like I said, typically it's myself and Tim. And then in the past, we've had one of the park commissioners come. So let me be clear on what the commitment is. If you're on the preliminary search committee, we do have to go through a multi-tiered process where we would have to review the applicants that come through, and each of us that are on the committee have to rate them. So then as a group, we'll come together and talk about our top candidates. And usually, it's pretty clear on who we want to invite in for interviews. And so then all three of us would have to be there for all of the interviews, which is a little bit easier these days because we can do it via Zoom. And then we would also have to come together as a group to make that ultimate decision on, who we would want to bring forward as the candidate to be approved. So I guess, and Tim had just brought this up to me as well. One of the other options that you do have is that you could assign the hiring authority over to me as the director, so that if we do find that person, that we could hire them without having to come back to the park commission. But if you still want to go the path of knowing, about this person that we're going to hire, then, you would keep the hiring authority with you. It's totally up to you guys.
I'm of the mindset, and have been in the past also, that you and Tim are the people who have to work with this person 40 hours a week or whatever, X number of hours it is. And I have no problem with giving you guys the authority to make the determination, be the hiring authority.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'm same mind. I mean, if we needed, if you felt like it was important that somebody from the commission sit on the committee, then I think we could go that route. But if you don't feel that it's that important, and we can just go forward with giving you the authority to hire as needed, I'm okay with that as well.
Well, they're kind of like two separate things. So we still would have to go through the regular preliminary search committee process. It's just at the end of it, when the three of us meet after the interviews and we choose a candidate, I could just go and offer the position rather than waiting to call a special meeting with you guys and get your approval.
Yep. I see. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me as well. I know we've had some turnover with a couple. This is the second one I think in a year.
Oh, not in a year. It's been a little bit longer than it feels like it. So,
you know what? That's probably exactly right. It's interesting. I got a bike and I was like, you know what? I just got the bike, like a year ago, and then I called because it had broken, and they're like, no, you've had it like for 3 years. It's like, oh my God, time was just flying by. I'm serious. I don't know which
you forgot you forgot your COVID math, Mike. It's it's everything times 3.
Yeah.
So Mike, for just so you know as well, for this position specifically, this also seems to be kind of a transitional position. So somebody who's been out of the workforce for some time, possibly raising a family, possibly doing, other things, and, finally has, time at 35 hours to come back into the workforce, just to kind of transition back into a professional career. That's a lot of the applicants that we get, just so that you're kind of aware of that. That's pretty much.
I wasn't. So thanks, Tim. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily that there's a huge turnover, but it's kind of the nature of the beast for this particular position.
Got it. Okay, I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah. So I think I just have to amend my my creation of preliminary search committee motion to add that the final authority will be transferred over to.
Sounds like it's a separate thing, Kevin.
Oh, that's a separate thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so forget that. Scratch that. I'm not reading that. So we get a, can we get a motion for the creation of the preliminary search committee?
Correct, yes. So, yep.
Well, is there somebody else from the Park Commission that wants to be on it? I guess is the ultimate question before you go to.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
I'm
No worries.
happy to do it if nobody else wants to fight for it. So
You got the job, Sal.
I was gonna say sold.
Sold. All right. So can we get a motion for the creation of the search committee with Saul, Commissioner Saul, as the third person in the commission, in the committee?
I make a motion to approve the preliminary search committee of Alicia, Tim, and Saul, and that the process be an executive session, because having the candidate selection discussion in open session will be detrimental to the public's ability to attract qualified applicants for the position of administrative assistant.
Second.
All right, all those, let's take a vote. So Mike?
Mike's yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Saul?
yes.
And Kevin is a yes.
So then the last vote that you have to take would be making me the hiring authority for this position as a
Proxy?
like a one-off.
A proxy, like a proxy for the correct? No.
No, because I would be for this instance,
Okay.
but typically, I wouldn't say like take that power away from you guys.
Gotcha.
So I move that we assign Alicia the authority to hire the administrative assistant position. Is that enough?
For this one time only.
For this hiring process.
For this hiring cycle.
Like,
Hiring second. Yeah.
okay.
All right, did we get a second there?
I second. Mike seconds.
All right, so all in favor, Saul? Or
Yes.
voting, Saul? Mike?
Mike's a yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And Kevin is a yes.
Rock on. Okay.
All right. Vote to accept donations to the Youth Scholarship Fund. Do you want to fill us in on all this?
Yeah, so we've been really lucky that so the Ed Walsh Foundation, this is, I believe, the third year that they've donated to the Youth Scholarship Fund. So Ed was a firefighter in Boston that lost his life on a call in 2014. And his family has, created this foundation to honor his spirit, that he always gave back to the community and was really involved in, youth programming with like YMCAs and Boys and Girls clubs and things like that. So, we've been really lucky that they've, accepted us into that mission that they have. So they have donated $1,000 to the Youth Scholarship Fund. And then we also have received another $1,000 donation from Kimberly Albertelli from Find Your Village Real Estate. And typically she does help out during holiday helpers over the past few years. But I think all of the gifts and everything went so fast because, we had everything online. So she still wanted to be able to help out. So she donated the $1,000 to the Youth Scholarship Fund this year.
Nice.
So those are, the two donations that we've gotten.
All right, can we get a motion to accept, if you would like to accept the donations?
Yeah, we could do one at a time. I make a motion to accept the Ed Walsh Foundation donation of $1,000 to the Youth Scholarship Fund.
Second.
All right, Mike?
Mike's a yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and Kevin is a yes.
I'll make a motion to accept $1,000 donation to the Youth Scholarship Fund by Kimberly Albertelli and from Find Your Village Real Estate.
Second.
All right, Sean,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
Mike,
Mike's a yes.
and Kevin's a yes.
Now, those are very generous donations.
Yeah.
Very much.
They
so.
really are.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks to both of them.
Yep.
Yep.
Do we typically do anything like, I'm sure we do send like a thank you letter, or, do we send like a t-shirt or something, or like, is there anything like
So-
that? Or?
I would love to do more. Usually we do send like a letter of thanks to the individuals, but especially with COVID right now, there's not a whole lot of money floating around
Yeah.
to do some extra things. But maybe when we get back to normal, that's something that we can look into, figuring out what that would be for folks that do these kind of donations.
A pen.
Sure. Yeah. All right, moving right along.
You guys are doing great.
All right, director's report.
Woo! All right. So, we're going to go over the finances. We do have to talk about transfers from the enterprise certified retained earnings and spring elections, as well as NRPA, which I might let Tim speak to that a little bit more because he was the one that updated our membership. So let's go ahead and get started with the finances. We'll do the monthly review first. We're done really awesome for January. We actually have I think it's on the next slide, but it ends up being like a 19.3% increase in 1 month, which is amazing. So Tim, if you want to flip back to month. So we did open camp registrations. A few things to kind of know about this is we're trying to make sure that the finances, especially the revenues, are coming in at the right times. And so we're kind of playing around with a few things this year just to try to make the fiscal years more even, if you will, because they tend to, fiscal year ends in June and then starts in July. So for us, it's really difficult tracking all of the finances because now you have you've got July and August of one summer and then June of the next summer that are all like lumped in together. So one of the suggestions that Steve Venuti, who was our previous treasurer, suggested to us was that we wait and collect all of the fees for programs in July after July 1. So typically we've allowed people to just pay for everything up front, and it kind of creates this landslide effect that doesn't really give us a real picture of what our finances are. So what we've done is this summer we're allowing people they can sign up for all the programs regardless, but we're only accepting payment for the first 2 weeks. I guess I should say the last 2 weeks in June, which are the first 2 weeks of our programming for the summer. And then everybody else, they can sign up and essentially be put on a wait list. And then, once we get to July 1, we can send out those invoices and folks can pay at that time. So we'll see how it shakes out. And if it, really gives us a little bit more, the ability to make sense of the finances and really see the ebbs and flows where they really should be. So we'll try it this summer. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't work out or if there's hiccups, then we come up with some other process to figure it out. But it's definitely worth the good old try. So Yeah, so we did really well with revenue this month of January, and we've definitely kept the expenses down very low. On average, they've been around the 2,000 to like 4,000. Last month was kind of higher because we had a lot of people that were bringing in invoices that they were trying to shore up the end of their fiscal year, which is December. December was a little out of the ordinary for us, but we're back on track. We're doing really good. Tim, if you want to flip over to the yearly.
So, Alicia, before we switch over, is that 46?
Yeah.
That's profit? That's when you say income?
Yeah, that's net that we've got for this month.
Wow.
So one of the things that's going to impact our February number is last year we didn't bring in February break money until February. This year we opened it in January.
I see.
Remember we were transitioning Aaliyah in last year at this time.
Yeah.
So that's going to contribute to a $8,000 deficit in February's numbers year over year. So just to keep that in mind, that's reflected in this 46,000 here.
Kind of raining on the parade here a little bit, but yeah.
No, just letting you guys know for next month.
Realistic.
It's because we're chasing a big number next month, and we have a lot of programs that aren't going to be counted in that number that were last year. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that you're going to see this kind of really positive number, and then next month it's going to be positive, but it's not going to be year over year positive.
Still, it's given where we are. This is better than I expected. So it's good.
All right. So if you remember last month, and if you don't, it's on there. So last month, our year to date amount was 76,500 as net, and now we've gone up to 91,354. So again, it's a really positive increase. We're doing really well for the time being, and we hope that that trend will continue and that folks are still feeling comfortable about, coming to camp and having as normal of a summer as, we can have. It'll be a lot different and a lot better experience, I think, this summer than it was last summer when we were trying to figure all the stuff out and, really trying to keep everyone safe. While we were doing it. I mean, we still will keep people safe, but, we have all of the policies and everything figured out. And we also now have this experience of kind of turning on a dime when we have those policy changes that are, handed down from the Commonwealth. So, I think we're on a really good path right now. Okay.
So I saw we're hoping to run Camp T the last 2 weeks. I think right now we've had 2 snow days. So
one technically. So today was they did do full remote, so it doesn't count as a snow day.
No, but there was one last week, and
there was one
early.
Yeah. So we had a buffer of a Friday and we just rolled into Monday. But when we did registrations, we had told people that if we did roll into the second week, into the first week, that we were going to do household credits to be used for camp later in the summer. So at this point, everybody who registered for week A has a credit for Monday.
Would we just prorate it and let's say start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or
no, because they've already paid up front for the whole week. So at this point, we'll just credit their account and let them use it for another payment later down the road.
And so you just went, if we go into that week, if school goes into that week, we just won't do Camp T. Is that it?
For those days, for whatever days at the beginning of the week. I suspect that they're done with snow, unless we get a real blizzard, that they're done doing snow days.
Fingers crossed.
But I'm just saying hypothetically, if it goes into that week, would you still try to run Camp T on that week and start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday?
Yep, that's typically what we do.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So the difficulty is honestly for our staff. So instead of them having the weekend to be able to kind of take their time and set everything up, they're sort of on a fast forward track of coming in on Monday afternoon, getting everything ready that night, and then, have to be ready and prepared for Tuesday morning.
Right.
Or Wednesday or whatever, we end up being.
Right.
Mm-hmm. John has done it before, and he'll do it again, and he's got it down.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing I think we have is spring election. So I just wanted to bring this up. So Sean and Saul, both of you are up for elections. Saul, because you were appointed, you would have to go through the process of pulling papers and all that. So I'm not sure what the timeline is. So if you can check in with Diane Crory about that, that would be good.
It is March 22nd.
Is the date that it closes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're both
I have my papers. I have not started collecting many signatures yet, but
Awesome. Thank you.
That's a challenge though, given that where we are in our times. Will they, how does it have to be a physical signing? Can it be? How does that work?
I think it does have to be physical signing. I saw one person who is sort of going door to door. So I have not figured out how that's going to happen yet, but
I would ask Diane Corey for suggestions.
I'd have to believe we're not the only department going through this. There are other elections, right?
Everybody, right? Everybody's who's going for elections is doing it. So.
Yeah, so it might be worth reaching out to Diane and see if you have any flexibility.
Yeah.
How about you, Sean? You upping?
What's that?
Are you re-upping?
Diane sent me an email the other day to remind me. EBD, I don't know. You're putting me on the spot here.
Well, think about it. I would say if you decide that you don't want to continue, definitely if you can reach out to the public and if you know some folks that might be interested, that would be awesome. We'd be sad to see you go. You're awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm being non-committal at the moment.
That's okay. All right, I get it. All right. So that was it. Just the update on spring elections, making sure you guys are checking in on that. I wonder if this is the updated one, Tim, if I put the transfer stuff in there. Is there one after that? No. Okay. So I'll just run through and talk about this. So, oh, there it is. Hey-o. I had it at the beginning. All right. So typically, I'm not a big fan of doing reserve transfers. We've done it kind of minimally in the past. It's something that we do only when necessary because we don't want to drain those reserves. So in a case like the pandemic and we couldn't get the town to be able to help us with that debt, that's something that we might have to undertake ourselves in the future. So we really want to bolster that reserve for things like that, and for us to be able to build facilities and do more with parks and things like that. So again, we don't really want to take out of there a whole lot. That being said, because we did have the issue last year with the deficit, we actually did end up with a positive certified amount, which I just found out this week for the $278,000. So that is money that kind of stays off to the side with the state. And if at town meeting you all decide that you want to use those funds, we can go through an article warrant to be able to have access to those funds. So this year, I think I had already, if any of you had heard the budget presentation that I did a few weeks ago, that, realistically, we will have to at least do the $30,000 that I do have at the beginning. So in the past, we had done 25,000 as kind of like an injection into special events. And that was to get Tim off the ground so, he could get things set the way that he wanted to be able to do some of these bigger events. And so that money kind of got slushed into the rest of the debt because that's how enterprises work. So I think it would be behoove us to put that money back in there so that when we're able to get back and do special events again for the community, that, Tim has something to start off with to get him going. And then hopefully that those special events in the future, like Oktoberfest, will fill those coffers so that we can keep going in the future. But we just need that bit to get us going. And then the last is when I was going through and trying to balance the budget, we did need to find $5,000 to kind of supplement the recreation wages. So I'm suggesting that, we have $5,000 from that to go in there, and that creates a zeroed out balanced budget, which is the way that Cheryl, our financial director, wants to be able to do the budgeting. It's not really how enterprises works. So at the end, we may not have needed that $5,000, but to get us to that zero balance budget, we would need to add that in. So that being said, the second is thinking about, so we did put in a request for a capital funding for the statistically valid survey. And, the town is very limited on capital funds at this time. So the reality of us getting that money is probably kind of slim. So that's just another piece where, as the commission, I would ask that you guys think about the potential of, using this ability to transfer during town meeting to pay to do the statistically valid survey. I did look into if we could do that through CPC funds, and it does not cover surveys like that. So capital would be our only option, and if that doesn't work, then we got to pay for it ourselves. So those are kind of the rundowns of the transfers. So any questions, comments, concerns?
So the total transfer would be the 25,000 plus the 30,000. Is that what we're sort of talking about?
So the total that I would be requesting if we did all of these things would be 60,000.
Yeah.
So there would be 25,000. Yep, for special events, 5,000 for the rec wages, and then 30,000 for the statistically valid survey.
Okay. And right now, our sort of our reserve is the 278,000.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not really our reserve. It's the certified retained earnings from like the previous year. So
Okay.
that, we don't have it. It's not just like start of the year credit and like throw it in there.
Yep.
That would be nice. But, it's something that's held off to the side.
Sure. Okay.
That's cumulative over years, right? That's not just from 1 year, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's at the end of the year, you have a surplus that goes into that fund. Is that the sort of the rough process?
So it could do. Yeah. So at the end of the year, they want to kind of zero out the budget. So if you are in the positive, then yes, once it's certified, it would go into the state account that you could have access to later on. But as the bylaw is that you have to go through town meeting to get it approved to use those funds.
And if you never ask to get the funds, it'll just keep growing and growing and growing until.
Well, there are things I think that, I think at some point the basketball courts are going to have to get done. I'm not even sure what's going to happen with the tennis courts that we have. So there are things I think. Fay Park's another one. And I don't know if they're going to, at some point, if we want to try to address the parking at,
Right.
if you want to do something at Fay Park, it's just not going to scale with the parking alone that we have at 300 King. So something's going to have to be done with that. And even if you consider CPC, I think we've found that capital funding is just not, it's not a vehicle that we've been very fortunate. We haven't had much luck in that well. So
Right.
So I guess the question I do feel strongly about the special events and the rec wage staffing. Do we think we could put off the survey for another year, given where we are with the
So
Does it make
I would
sense?
say, yeah, I would say no. And the reason why I would say no is that, so we had the open space and recreation plan, which Mike, you were involved in the tail end of that. That was, it feels like it was just approved like, a year ago, but it was from 2016.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to redo the open space and recreation plan again. I really want to get into detailed strategic planning and moving forward for this department. And a lot of the information needed to accomplish that is going to come from this survey. So, and also, as we move forward with space needs, that's something that we can use as saying, if we decide we want to do like a community center, whatever it is, recreation center, that there is a need for it. And there's, these are the things that the community are looking for. So realistically, I think now is honestly the time to do it. Because if we wait, then, by the time that report is finished, it might, overlap with something like the open space and recreation plan in like not the best way. So I'd rather have that information up ahead of time, be able to do all that strategic planning ahead. And then when it comes to giving my report for the open space and recreation plan, bam, it's all there ready to go.
Do we have any concern that life is so weird right now, we're not going to get a clear picture of what people need?
Little bit.
That's what I was sort of getting at, Saul. Yeah.
I know.
Although, I mean, this may be a new normal-ish. I don't know. That's kind of the.
I definitely hear you on that. I don't know. I mean, I think if we get to the point where we're reaching out and talking to companies that, we want to do this survey, that's a really valid conversation or a question for us to be asking.
So let me ask you, does it, I think there are two approaches. One would be to approve it and not act on it until, a little later, maybe in the summer, or is this something that we could do in the fall town meeting?
So that is also an option. I would say, so the first part of it, the first 30,000, that would be for special events and for the rec budget. It has to be done this spring. And we'll go through.
I'm just talking
Right.
about the survey.
Yeah. So yeah, potentially that is an option of something that you could do, is wait till fall to do it then.
Is it something?
Tim, how do you feel about that? Tim, how do you feel about that?
I think that if you wait till the fall to free up the money, by the time that's done, you're going to be at the back of the line. So you're another year down the line of getting somebody to actually do this. If you approve the funds and go out for bids and such, you may get started by September, October, and have an answer by next January or February. If you delay, going out to bid with the funds, then you probably are another year and a half down the road. So the whole purpose of doing this is you should do these every 3 to 5 years, depending on the turnover of the town and, the department and what the goal setting is. The reality is the information that comes from this should be your goal setting for your 5-year master plan.
So you're actually saying the natural process will put you out, into the fall time frame anyhow. Is that correct? Or even later?
Yeah, because by the time that you get the funds approved is July 1st. So then you go out for RFP. So at that point, you have 2 months, 3 months of accepting bid contracts whenever we decide to close the bid, at which point then you go into actually developing the study. So by the time the study is actually developed, you're talking another month to 3 months, depending on what you're actually looking for. And the reason these are 95 to 98% accurate is because the company then goes out and does the surveying until they get exactly the results that you're paying them to get for you, as far as from a percentage accuracy standpoint. So what they'll do is they'll mail out the survey, at which point I believe it's a 1 month return time. Then they start calling the people that they sent the survey to for an additional, I believe it's 60 to 90 days. At which point, if you're refusing to do it, then they go back into the demographics and find somebody who is exactly you, make sure that we're covering, what we're looking for, and we're getting a, as perfect representation of what these slices of pie in Littleton are. Everyone from, families with children to couples who don't have children to, any scenario that you can think of, senior citizens, living alone, living together, all of those things. And then once they feel that they've adequately met, that, then they formulate the report, which takes about 2 months, and they deliver the results. So it's quite an arduous process. And as far as, like I said, if the biggest thing is if you do this now, then it's, July funds become available. So you're not looking really at getting any information back that's usable until, next July. If you push it down there, to September, you're not looking until September on. The other thing to look into also is that a lot of the companies, their busiest time of year to do these surveys for Park and Recs is in that winter season, when they can, the Park and Rec itself has a little bit of a lull. They can work a little bit, more closely, because those are the shoulder seasons where your directors, your assistant directors, the personnel that's going to help develop this is actually in the office. So it becomes much more competitive when you hit that September, October timeline. Also, there's only a certain number of companies that facilitate this.
And the reality is that if I'm using this survey, the data that comes from it, we start doing budgeting for the next fiscal year in
January,
September, September, October. And, then we're trying to aim to figure it all out so that we can have the discussion in January with the FinCom and Board of Selectmen to then go to town meeting in spring. So it's all a long process.
So I think, and I'm not sure, and Kevin, if you want to stop me here, go ahead. But I don't know, were you at your one position? They were actually conducting one of these while you were over in one of your stops, right?
Yeah, over in Brookline, I think, right?
So the company that we're thinking about using is one of the companies that have, when I was doing the preliminary research that I had requested from a quote, came very highly recommended from Brookline. So Kevin, do you want to speak to that? Just really kind of.
Honestly, Tim, I didn't have too much to do with the survey and the company. I was kind of like it was a quick stopover for me, so I wasn't too involved in it. But what I will say is, if it comes highly recommended from those folks, those are folks that I trust, and I know that they do a good job at Brookline Parks and Recs, and they wouldn't steer us down a bad road. So. That's all I can say, really.
Well, Tim, thanks for the explanation and for the review. I think that was helpful.
Yeah, I think it's something that I know it's been sort of tossed around by us for a little bit, and I think it's really something that we got to kind of push along. I have the same reservations as Saul. Like, are we going to get a good participation? But I do know that the companies will, like Tim said, keep trying and trying until they get, the responses that they need to be valid. So, I'm definitely in favor of requesting the transfers.
And I mean, I think it's a smart thing to, take that vote if that's something that you all feel comfortable doing. And that's up to you guys to have that discussion. I haven't heard back yet if we definitely have not gotten the 30,000. But when I did do the budget presentation, they did say that our chances were pretty slim.
We can always make it dependent on whether or not, right? We don't get the funds from capital, right? So.
Right. If we got the funds from capital, then we wouldn't need to spend that 30,000 of our own money. Yeah, right. Correct. But I think,
contingent is what I'm looking for, contingent. Anyways.
Yeah, we have actually talked about this for over a year doing the survey.
I know. Again, it's just the time's shifted on us.
When we do the transfer, do we need to assign specific line items projects to the transfer?
Yeah, so that's something that I will work out when we. So I'll work with Cheryl, the finance director, to make sure that the article that we put into town meeting is exactly what it needs to say. But yes, essentially it would be, the commissioners are approving 60,000 to be used from the retained earnings to pay for $25,000 for special events, $5,000 to recreation wages, and $30,000 for a statistically valid survey. There might be some more legally jargon in there, but for the most part, that's essentially what it would say.
I mean, I think that makes sense, and I think that to an extent, trying to keep in the spirit of being an enterprise, paying for our own research sort of makes sense rather than asking the town for it. I mean, it'd be nice if the town gave it to us, but it sort of seems like something that becomes part of the process.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things where I think it's a good idea to do, because there might be things that are a little bit more appropriate that I see, down the line where we could use capital a little bit better. And I'm thinking of, parking situation, for King and Fay. I think that's something that we're gonna need some help,
And that's the point of doing this, Mike, is to gain some of that traction to do these things, because
Yep.
When we come to the table and we say, oh, this is something, Park and Rec we're trying to accomplish, or this is a goal or mission or 5-year plan or whatever we want to call it. The reality of the situation is, when you have X% of the residents making this a high priority, which is what you're going to get it ranked by priority, and you're also going to get it ranked by percentage in every classification. That becomes data that can't really be argued with when it comes to those particular topics. And it can be anywhere. This is going to cover everything from walking trails to, riding mountain bikes to accessibility to all of the things that we cover, right? So, it also gives us the ability to open up hopefully conversations with other groups like conservation or the cultural council to say, hey, there's this overwhelming, need or want for X. How can we make this happen? Because this is something the community is asking for. So rather than us throwing darts at a wall or, spending money to try something, we now have a direction to go. We know that, to use two things that are in our department, we know that archery is wanted by 80% of the people, but soccer is only won it by 30% of the people. So at that point, when we're talking about space, we know that the first thing that we're going to want to build is some sort of field that, could house an archery program. So those are the kind of things we're going to look at and be able to develop it and put forth. It also tells you, do you need more soccer fields? Do you need more multi-sports fields? Or do you need more baseball fields? So when, Kevin goes to his youth sports council and they're saying, hey, we really have need for this, the answer is actually, well, we have this study, the entirety of the town said this, and, based off of what it is, your need equals this percent. And this is the data that we got. So it makes those conversations much easier, and it gives us the direction when we're having, planning to be able to make the right decisions.
And that's
Sure,
the biggest piece. We
Sure.
have limited finances, so we need to be right on and make the right decisions on what we're going to do, build, create, that is going to serve the most amount of people in the community.
But I'll be surprised that Littleton will be a bit of an outlier if archery is 80% versus 30.
Tim likes archery, so maybe he's trying to like put that in there.
All right, any other discussion? So do you want us to, or would you prefer a vote tonight if that's possible?
I would. So let me jump ahead a little bit, Tim, if you don't mind. In new business, there is information on there. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so so this is one of the things. There's a couple things tonight that kind of popped up at Monday or today. So on at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, they did open Springtown meeting, which means that we can start creating articles and putting them into the packet. So town meeting itself will actually be held on Monday, May 3rd. And then for us as a department or as a park commission, the last time that we're able to actually submit a drafted article is March 18th. And it feels very far away, but realistically it's like a month.
Yeah, that's not far.
That's
Yeah,
not far
so
at all, right?
so you guys could take your time. We could come back in the March Park Commission meeting and you could take a vote then. But it's kind of, making things a little bit tight and close there.
I see no reason to wait. I think we've, I've said my, we've talked about it, I think, so I'm willing to move forward if everyone else is.
Yep.
I don't know what a month will buy that we can't hash out today.
Yeah. And I would say with the caveat that if we do get the money from capital, then I would only request the 30,000 for special events and then the 5,000, 25,000 for special events and the 5,000 for the recreation wages.
And when will that decision announcement be made?
I don't know. Hopefully soon.
One of the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
At one, okay.
I would assume it would be one of the meetings they file jointly with FinCom.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
Anyone want to take a gander at a motion here? And
Oh, go back. No.
All right.
So I guess I would move that we support the creation of articles for a transfer from the enterprise fund of $60,000 to include 25,000 for special events, 5,000 for rec wage staffing, and 30,000 for the statistically valid survey.
I would say yeah, but I'd like to make an amendment to say it's contingent upon not getting the $30,000 from capital funding for this year.
Very good. So moved.
Second.
All right, let's take a vote. So Saul,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kevin, oh, sorry, Mike,
Mike's a yes.
and Kevin is a yes. Can I ask one of my fellow commissioners to, I'm going to be on the move here. Practice is done, so I've got to be picking up the kid, the boy. But can I have one of our fellow commissioners kind of move the meeting along while I'm moving my son back to the house?
Yeah, we can take care of it.
Sure, we can do that. We got it.
All right, I'm going to be listening.
All right.
We have a quorum. If Kevin, if you want to just call it a day, we have a quorum, so you don't feel like you have to pay any attention.
I'll, you know, I don't think I'm harming anyone just yet. So if I feel like I'm harming somebody,
Okay.
I will gladly step aside.
Just don't look at the camera.
Yeah, no road
I know,
rage,
right?
no road rage incidents. You're being filmed.
No. Oh, good. The boy's right here too. So yeah, this will
right.
be in court. All right.
Okay. So this is where we're at, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, director's report. Oh, no, we didn't do NRPA. Go back one.
Hey,
Yep. We just renewed the NRPA membership, and part of that, the Park Commission gets, I don't know if we would call them honorary memberships or not, but so you guys do have access to this website. So it's the National Recreation and Parks Association. It is chock full of really vital information. So whether it's research or policy creation or webinars, you have access to all of that. So, we'll send you the information so that you guys can set up your accounts. Tim, you already set them up in there, maybe?
Am I muted?
No, you're on.
Oh, yeah. So they're all set up in there. They also, if they could all provide me with their home address, that'd be great, because you guys have a stack of magazines that you get every month that you could be reading sitting in our office. But yeah, so
I was wondering about that. For last year, I was getting them. This year, I don't think
we met in person last year, so we forced them upon you every
okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. So, the nice thing is, just so you guys know, you do have access. This is the site right here. There's everything from certifications to conferences and events. There's a very, very large contingency of board members from across the country who have access to this. Health and wellness, conservation, equity are the three pillars of, basically what our business deals with. There's things on advocacy, whatever, kind of is your niche, everything from aquatics, playground, parks, all of those things. So, in working through this, if anybody ever has any questions or wants to do a little homework or anything like that, this is right at your thing. When we talk about, the research for the projects we're moving forward with, or just wanting to kind of get a pulse of what's going on, this publications and research tab has everything from the studies that we complete every year, which are the park metrics, which not only, rank us against other parks in the country, but they kind of show what the up and coming trends are. So, the big thing in our being East Coasters, is that if you ever want to know what's going to be kind of the big and upcoming thing, it happens 5 years before the East Coast on the West Coast. So if they're doing it on the West Coast, it'll be huge here in about 5 years. So, you know, as you walk through this, you can see there's online field guides, which basically kind of lay out, you know, different parts and entities of your programs. There's research reports, best practices, all sorts of stuff. And then the other piece that you can get into that Alicia was saying is there's a very large online learning center. So you guys have access to all these webinars. Not sure if anybody does it for work, but there's all sorts of virtual events, certificate programs, opportunities all across the board. So all you guys have to do is log in, sign up, set yourself up, and everything that you see here is at your fingertips. So when we talk about this stuff, Mike, there's a whole probably 1,500 pages on fitness courses and stuff like that. And it's good information to know for what we're doing on an annual basis, and it really helps tie everything together. One of the webinars and virtual events that they do is there's a specific course and webinar that specifically deals about being a commissioner, how to deal with the public, how to become a political advocate. There's all sorts of interesting things in here.
So you're a park commissioner. Now what? Awesome. Thank you. I do want to take a minute just to recognize that Tim did his examination for his certified Parks and Rec professional, and he did pass. What, you got like a 97%?
87.2, but thank you for the vote.
Rock star. So that's a really big deal. I know he's been working on those, the modules and, you know, studying for that for a while. So that's really awesome that, you know, he accomplished that. So hopefully myself, Kaz, and maybe Rachel are pretty close behind him. We'll see.
I got your thing reloaded for free today, Day.
I've paid for the exam twice out of my own pocket, and I haven't taken it yet.
Oh wow!
It'll be in your module tomorrow morning.
Yeah. All right. Good. That's good to hear. Thank you. All right. So
how do they know that we are who we are when we log in? You have something set up in their emails, or?
I will go back in and send you the welcome email.
Okay.
So you all have it, and then you just have to go in and create a username and password. And as long as you're on the commission, we'll renew every year. So you'll just have it.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool. Excellent. And let's see. After that, now we're back to new business. All right. So we talked about the Springtown meeting being open. So definitely block out your calendars for Monday, May 3rd. That will be a town meeting night. All right. I can't see the thing.
What do you need?
Is the PowerPoint still up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it should be.
It's on the COVID sports
You
update.
see it?
Yeah. What do you need me to read?
Maybe it's because I have my minutes. That's what it is. I got to get out of full screen. Somehow I got back in there. Okay. So one of the things that just came out yesterday was the update to the sports and so youth and adult sports standards for phase 3, step 1. So you guys might want to dial back a couple months when we were talking about all this high risk, low risk, and the different levels of which people can interact on those items. So the one thing that this really does affect is basketball. So Basketball was always considered that high risk sport, and it still is. The standard before was that folks could only do skills and drills, right? And so one of the reasons that we closed the basketball courts for so long was because we didn't feel like that was something that was genuinely going to happen with the public. So with the changes, the only thing that is barred from high risk sports, especially ones that are outdoors, is tournaments at this point in time. So we could go back to normal play. However, if you look under the Commonwealth has updated that whole piece. Everyone, if you are playing, has to wear a mask at all times. So that is the requirement. If you're going to be out there on the court playing, everyone has to wear a mask. So, you know, again, that's a decision that you guys can, if you want to make tonight and change to open those courts, you can. Not like somebody's going to run out there tomorrow and play basketball on a snowy court. We're definitely not going to plow them. But you know, that is an updated change to, you know, the steps that had kind of stayed solid for the last couple of months.
So in the past, we've been able to run leagues in the schools. Are the schools still off, even with this new guidance? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
No, yeah. And the reality is with schools and those leagues, we haven't done it because the schools have kind of been, and rightfully so, kind of protective of the gyms because the kids are, you know, still in the schools partially. And they are doing youth sports as well. So
Yep. No, I get it.
Yep.
Practiced it.
So I do want to just kind of throw out a shout out. The schools were extremely helpful helping us get in for February break.
Yes.
So just wanted to let you guys know that as well. We did talk to Steve Marks, and you know he was able to work with his team and get us into the Shaker Lane cafeteria and gym to help mitigate some of the costs of that program. So just want to say thank you for the support from those guys to get that done.
Beautiful.
And I did send an email this week specifically about some of our sports programs and the ability to get in on nights and weekends for after school, specifically the pitching clinic that we generally run in March and April. So hopefully when we have some time to talk, we can figure that out. Alicia, somebody just pop in the meeting.
It did, but then they disappeared before I could admit them.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
So what's that?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you want me to change slides.
No, so it's up to you guys if you want to take a vote to implement this change or wait. I mean, if it's coming down from the Commonwealth, I don't see why, you know, we should kind of wait on that because as soon as the snow melts, people are going to want to get out there.
Yeah, but it could change next month, you know, and you're right. They're not going to get those courts are not going to be usable until March. I can guarantee you that.
April or May at the earliest, Mike.
Yeah. So, you know, I'd hate to open them and then have this get pulled back at some point, you know. So if I felt like they could be used, I would say, yeah, let's do it. But I don't think they're going to be used. So I'm not sure what the point is of, you know, if they're not going to be used anyhow.
So I think the other piece to keep in mind too is last time we took a vote on this, the Board of Selectmen also took their own vote on it. So we might want to also just consult. Maybe one of you gentlemen can reach out to a colleague over there at some point when we are ready to take this vote.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, can we, I'd like to open them as soon as possible. As a gesture to the basketball folks that we are, you know, and value want to be inclusive and not overly restrictive to basketball. If the governor thinks that the courts can be opened, I think we should open them, even if they can be used or not. I think it's a good gesture.
I think
What
with
would
with,
opening?
since the select board was part of it previously, then maybe the action is to set something up with the select board to reopen the courts, or at least see if they want to be part of that.
And
Yeah,
we could-
I would agree with that. The other question I have is, what would constitute opening? I would imagine opening means taking down all the fencing, and so I mean, I agree, Sean, in principle with what you're saying, but if they can't be used and all, and we decide to open them up, take down all the fencing, and all of a sudden things change again, and then we have to close them. It's kind of like then you have to put the fencing back up again. So it's like
Those poles are not coming out of the ground for a considerable amount of time right now, Mike. Just like
I was gonna say, at this point, I think the prudent approach is probably just to open the gap in the fence that's already open.
correct.
You mean
Correct.
that's already there?
Exactly. And give people the go ahead to do it. So
Okay.
we have not been terribly successful at keeping people from using the courts. So
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think a discussion with the select board and assuming that they're in agreement, a movement to get it open as soon as possible, or as soon as it's practical.
And I can talk to Anthony and Joe tomorrow and see if we can do like a joint meeting, even if it's just a short, meeting. It definitely would be a good decision to do that. And
If they wanted to, could we take a vote tonight and just say yay or nay with the Board of Selectmen's vote as the contingency?
yeah, and I was so my game plan was, if you guys wanted to take a vote, then I was going to write a memo and send it to the Board of Selectmen so they would have it for their next meeting, so that they could have a discussion. So any way that you want to do that, you could do it that way, and say contingent upon Board of Selectmen, or if you want to instead have a joint meeting with them. I think it'll be an easier process if you took a vote and then with the contingency option, but it's up to you guys.
Yeah, my guess is they're not going to want to have a special meeting just to have a discussion on this. So
Right.
I'm fine with saying it's contingent upon.
I am also.
Yeah, and I think all the flack we got for closing them, I think this is, like Sean said, this is a good gesture of, hey, as soon as, they were able to be open, we opened them. It doesn't matter that there's 3 feet of snow on them, but they're
Right.
open.
Yeah, I think we caught a lot of undue flack for it. We were acting in best interest, so I think it is a goodwill gesture.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, I mean, if the fencing's still there, if things change, then all we have to do is just close them again. It's not extra work involved, right? So,
Right.
is that
Correct.
All right. So any more discussion about the courts? All right. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to open the basketball courts per the Commonwealth updates for youth and adult sports, contingent on the approval by the Board of Selectmen.
nice? I second it.
All right. Sean,
Yes.
Mike,
Mike's yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and Kevin is a yes.
Guys.
Right. Moving on.
Yep. All right. So this is just something I wanted you guys to be aware of. It looks like the town is going to move forward with creating just a senior center. this is something that I think we just found out about. Saul was at the meeting. I think Tim was at the meeting too last night. I don't know if any of the rest of you were there. The LLB, which was the company that did the space needs report. This is, their first stage that a building that they want to move forward with in the plan to kind of create a campus at Town Hall. So I think, I just wanted to bring it to your attention that mostly for the reason that it's kind of bordering on that baseball field. So that's something that, we'll have to have those discussions and see what's going to become of that space.
Well, the other question I have is, if you take a look at that drawing, where's Park and Rec?
We're still
in the building.
or Town Hall.
But if you look at that drawing, I thought that was parking. I'm sorry.
No, that's our courtyard, and that's our part of the building.
Okay, I thought they were making that because it's all gray, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was still additional parking. Okay.
That's fair, yeah.
There does seem to be a bit of a shortage of parking once they do that, but
yeah,
I'll say.
That is for the architects to figure out.
right.
Well, the other option it looked like is that we're looking at Indian Hill. So
in the presentation that they did last night, they said that they really did not feel like that would be a suitable fit for the senior center because it has way more space than they need, as well as some of the spaces are not really accessible to seniors that might have some mobility issues. So it's not the greatest option for them is kind of how I interpreted the report.
And the other piece to it was, and Selectman Napoli had mentioned this, is that, they are trying to figure out exactly what to call the building, because not only do they deal with the seniors, but they also deal with human services. So there's a lot of other aspects to that, business that they're trying to take into consideration as well in the naming of this building.
Yeah, it also, it looks like, given the siting, a very inefficient use, because from what I could see, they're only planning one level of occupancy, but they're going to have to build at least two to get the foundation down to the field level and the hill.
I think with this one they had 3 levels. They weren't all fully, but if I looked at the drawings correctly, it looked like there were 3 levels.
That was Indian Hill.
Yeah.
I
definitely I want to remind everybody too, it is a recorded meeting, so let's not make any speculative stuff just that might be misconstrued by the rest of the public. This was more of just a FYI.
Sure. But I still say, when I looked at the document that
yeah. So yeah.
Go ahead, Saul.
No, I think it there's lots of work to be done on that facility and design and other things. So to the extent that moves forward, we'll have to just see how it goes.
Yep. The only thing that I think I would suggest at this time is, if we have the commission or so you can't have like 3 commissioners, but so 1 or 2 commissioners sort of reach out to the town just to discuss, our needs for space moving forward, and what we can kind of do in the interim. I think that would help our department just make sure that we're part of the discussion, and that's something that we very much would like to be. because we have limited space where we are, and that's one of the biggest factors that does limit the our ability to bring in revenue. So that's just the only piece of it that I would bring to the commission at this time.
Yeah, the document, so I'm not speculating. If you look at the document that was sent out, there are 3 levels.
Okay. I don't know. All right, Tim, you want to move on to the CPC Long Lake renovation? If there's anything we need to talk about for if there's an upcoming meeting and if we're on the agenda.
So there are. So a couple things. Tomorrow, I'm finally back in the office. I am at the remote learning center at the front side of the week. I had a phone conversation with Ed Mullen, the building inspector, today, at which point he sent me over an email just kind of in a summation of what he thinks that we'll need in order to accomplish our goals. What I'm going to do tomorrow is put together the quotes that I have for plumbing and electric, as well as Ed and I think a fair estimation of what was the engineering costs to be specifically line itemed into this request would be about $5,000. And then just to go out and, request those bids to have the engineering done. At which point I'm going to put all that together tomorrow, send it over to Mike Lavasor, who is our CPC representative, for him to look over. But essentially what we'll be doing is based off of the numbers. The one individual that I am waiting to speak to is I sent Chris Stoddard, the highway superintendent, an email today just asking if there was any other funds that he thinks that highway might need, or other contractors that I may want to reach out to complete some of the work that we need to have done. Specifically, that waste area on the right side of the beach, where for years the goose poop and used sand has been pushed. It's where the cattails are, and that kind of off to the right side of the swim box. So that will be finally taken care of. That's been on the preventative maintenance plan for the past 3 years, but hasn't been taken care of due to the lack of manpower, as well as the ability to get the water controls, losing the exact term, runoff control in place in ample time to do it. So that'll be one thing that Chris and his team will be hopefully taking care of. The other piece is whether highway or an outside contractor is going to reloam and seed or sod the grass area in front of the bathhouse adjacent to the new snack shack where we took down the pine tree. And the other conversation that we have to have is, are we going to go to the shade committee or CPC funding to get some funding for some trees to put back into that area as well. So once I have those answers, hopefully tomorrow from Chris, I'll put together the rest of that proposal, send it to Mike to send into Mitt for the exact ask of next week's agenda items for the CPC. At which point we'll really be, once that, if that gets approved, we'll be at a point where there's not really much more inside the footprint of Long Lake Beach that we can do or have planned to do up until, the point that, we do really get serious about possibly putting in a new building or something else. But, right now with the septic / sewer not being existent, and just kind of the requests / public input that we've received over the past 3 years, it's kind of at a point where it's a stopgap, and we run day-to-day operations, and we preventive maintenance what we've put in place, and we have a really good thing going down there. So I think we've worked really hard, and if we can get this building to the finish line, we've done a really great job. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to see it prior to the snowfall, but directly behind the building, you can see that fence on the other side of the gravel. The restructuring of that rain garden is absolutely incredible. So they did such a good job. It's beautiful to look at too.
It really is. It's
definitely check
absolutely
that out.
stunning. They did a great job. Yep.
So Tim, what you're gonna present to CPC and give to me for approval, for review is the formal request, application request, correct? For CPC funds?
Correct. I'll be filling that out tomorrow, attaching the quotes, and Ed's email and any additional information I can hopefully get from Chris or Steven on funds that they might need to complete some of the other projects.
Lisha, your communications with Mitt, did you give him a heads up that the application is coming for the CPC request?
Yep.
Okay.
And just to be clear with everybody, it's going to be very vague because that's what burned us last time. So it's just basically going to be for updates and renovations to Long Lake Beach and engineering costs. It's not going to be lined out like I did the last time because that came back and ended up costing us some time being able to accomplish this. Any questions?
Nope.
All right. This is just a placeholder if anybody showed up to talk tonight. So nobody's here.
I just have a question. Do we know what the timeline, or is this something that as soon as the ground thaws that people are going to be expecting to happen, or?
So we were supposed to get an update from them about their process. They kind of got the green light to go through and, create that, the plan. But yeah, we were supposed to come back and just have a timeline figured out from them. So we have not heard back from them yet.
So
I think
sorry, Saul.
Weren't they contingent on finding some funding and other support to get it done?
Yeah, so they were trying to figure that out. And we had also requested like a long-term maintenance plan as well. Yep.
I'm not saying that this is the case here, but, I did, kind of bring this up in one of the meetings and, to tie it into the frog pond. This is one of those areas that I think now specifically, there was a lot of steam behind it. I think it's a great idea. I'd love to see it accomplished, but, now we've had this on our agenda for a couple months, haven't really heard anything. I just want to, the importance of us having a preventive maintenance plan in place so that it's not built and then kind of left to us is that much more important. People tend to forget about these things.
Well, where are all the rocks?
I don't know. Somebody's got a very full garage.
They have to be collected, Mike. They have to be collected from the community and dropped off.
No, but I mean
the original rocks.
Right.
The causation rocks.
Most of the original rocks have been taken away, and I don't think anybody knows where they are.
Yeah.
Somebody must know where they are. I mean, that's kind of the impetus behind this, right?
Landfill? I don't know.
Oh, wow.
You are correct.
Area
Mike.
51.
Area 51. Yes. Kevin Matrano. Yep.
Should we have somebody reach out to the group and ask them to be at the next meeting for an update?
I can do that. That's easy peasy.
And I think we just let them know if they can't be at the next meeting, we're just going to kind of table this for a little while until they sort of, back to us with something.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. I definitely it would be great to see it go through. It's just, like you said, we've got to make sure we tie up all these loose ends.
All right. I will see if they are available for that.
So one extra thing in new business, I just wanted to fill you guys in on. I did reach out to Anthony with an email, just kind of defining what our thought process was in the land of special events. Obviously knowing that right now is not the time of year to be starting them up, as well as how do we get back into them? Really, it was just a request for the Board of Selectmen to have a conversation about it, because they had weighed in on the Oktoberfest. Obviously, we're not going to put anything into play before the state regulations dictate so, but obviously we want not only the support, but we want to make sure that everybody has the appetite and agrees with what the correct timeline to move forward with these certain things are. I personally don't see us doing any special events prior to probably July 3rd Thursday. I'm not really sure kind of what the spring and the summer will bring. But I do want everybody to just kind of have that in the back of their mind, because, it is a conversation that we need to have. They are, tremendous undertakings worth of time in order to, make them happen. So I just wanted to give everybody an update that, that's something that we're going to have to think of, because I've already started receiving emails about Third Thursday and Touch a Truck and, all of the things that people do want. But, right now, I personally don't, feel like the guidelines allow it to happen. And, there's a lot of things that we do, especially, dealing with a younger population in our recreation stuff that, loves to touch, loves to be closer. So just kind of one of those things to keep on your radar. Just let you know we are thinking about it, but we don't really have a path forward. And just any advice or any kind of conversations that you have with any individuals, whether they be the selectmen or other members or boards, if you're asked about it, just please, or if there's any ideas, pass them along.
Will do. I think in the fall there'll be an appetite for some special events, so I'm hoping we can do something.
Yeah, so just to be clear, obviously we didn't do the father-daughter dance. Probably end up doing away with the egg hunt. We may do the one where we did the community egg hunt, where we asked people to paint eggs and do that. Obviously the candy scrambles out again. Touch a Truck, it's May, so I don't think that we're going to be having anything like that going on. Great American Campout typically lasted in June. So I think, the most manageable thing that we can aim for is probably July 3rd Thursday. So just thinking about that. So if anybody's got any other suggestions or anything, please let me know.
Speaking of special events, Alicia, did you get the pictures of Fire and Ice that I sent?
I did. Thank you.
So that whole area was frozen back a few years.
Yeah, it's amazing. We were having a conversation about ice skating out at Bay Park and when the last time that happened. So
That event was awesome. I was at. It was a big bonfire. It was the last time that it had to be like 5 or 6 years ago, right? Or more than that, maybe.
Before I got here, yeah.
Yeah, it was 14, I think, 14 or 15.
Yeah, that was a great event.
Yeah. So anyway, so there used to be good skating on that.
Yep.
On that patch, but sounds like it causes lots of problems. So
We got some plans moving forward how to bring it back for sure.
All right. So if there's no other new business or nothing, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Mike.
Mike's yes.
Saul.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
And Kevin is a yes.